Roboute Guilliman is the Primarch of the Ultramarines chapter of Space Marines, one of the few loyalist Primarchs still alive. Known as the Avenging Sun, he is a masterful warrior of the Imperium whose indomitable will and tactical expertise has provided a beacon of hope in the grim darkness of the galaxy. Guilliman has forged his Ultramarines and their successor chapters into a formidable force, duty-bound to defend the realm of Ultramar on the eastern fringe of the galaxy. Long ago, following an event known as the Second Founding, where all Space Marine legions were divided into smaller chapters, Roboute Guilliman led the Ultramarines against the remaining forces of Chaos in the wake of the Horus Heresy. United with a few of his brother Primarchs, Guilliman and his forces survived numerous battles and cleansed many of the worlds which had been lost to the traitor legions over the next several hundred years. One such battle would see the fall of the Primarch of the Alpha Legion of Chaos, Alpharius, at the hands of Guilliman himself, although it did not break the Alpha Legion's fighting strength, as once hoped. It was during the Battle of Thessala in the 121st year of the 31st millennium when a great tragedy would befall the Ultramarines chapter, a tragedy which would echo throughout the entire Imperium. The conflict saw the Ultramarines battle against the might of the Emperor's children, who followed the Chaos god Slaanesh, the Dark Prince. Their corrupt Primarch Fulgrim, a former brother of Guilliman, had undergone a transformation to become a creature of immense power, a monstrous demon prince of Slaanesh. Fulgrim, locked in a brutal duel with the Primarch of the Ultramarines, raised his chaos-tainted toxic blades and cut through Guilliman's sacred armour on the neck joint, puncturing his throat. The great warrior collapsed to the ground, fatally wounded at the hands of the demon prince, bested by his cunning and guile. After his battle brothers recovered his fallen, dying body, Roboute Guilliman was placed in a temporal stasis field and transported back to MacLeod, the home planet of the Ultramarines. Guilliman would remain encased in his stasis tomb within a shrine dedicated to him, perfectly preserved and frozen in time for 10,000 years. The great shrine lies within a vaulted spelture, known as the Temple of Correction, located in the Ultramarines' colossal northern polar fortress on MacLeod. Guilliman's stasis tomb was contained within a decorated marble throne with the Emperor's sword, once wielded by the Master of Mankind himself, placed alongside him. It became a holy location to the Imperium and was one of the grandest temples ever constructed. It was widely believed in the Imperium that it would be scientifically impossible for any healing to take place within the frozen state of temporal stasis. However, it became apparent that the stasis technology does not actually freeze time, but rather drastically slows it down to the point where there is no discernible difference to the onlookers. But in fact, Guilliman's wounds would begin to heal. The poison traces from Fulgrim's blade were slowed to a point where the cells within his body were able to heal unimpeded by the spread of the toxins. Over time, it was believed by the generations of visiting pilgrims that his grievous wounds were slowly recovering, and that one day he would awaken, fully restored, when the Imperium needed him most. For 10,000 years since the Horus Heresy, the Avenging Sun rests silently in his temple as the Emperor's Imperium slowly decayed around him, assailed on all fronts by legions of traitors fallen to Chaos and ravenous Xenos forces. It is only by the endless sacrifice of countless brave warriors does the Imperium continue to survive. In this desperate era, at the closing stages of the 41st millennium, the Tau Empire expands in the eastern fringe. The brutal Orc warbands are gathering strength. The dreaded Tyrannid splinter fleets are consuming entire star systems, and even the ancient Necrons are rising from their tomb worlds to reclaim what was once theirs. Among the carnage of war, one threat looms like an enveloping darkness, casting its shadow over the entire galaxy: the forces of Chaos. The gods of chaos and their massed following have concentrated their galactic invasion of the Imperium, most notably in the 13th Black Crusade, led by Abaddon the Despoiler. The wide-scale destruction left in the wake of the 13th Black Crusade is evident on countless worlds across the galaxy. The hope of mankind dangled by a thread, as its people faced the horrors of the galaxy, but yet hope still remained in the form of one of its greatest heroes, the Primarch, Roboute Guilliman. It was during the Ultramar campaign of the 13th Black Crusade in the 999th year of the 41st millennium when the Avenging Sun would be reborn. Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Cool, accompanied by the Eldari priestess Ivrain, had travelled to Macragge. They met with Marneus Calgar, the chapter master of the Ultramarines, and chief librarian Tigerius. Cool explained the reasoning behind their presence and alliance with the Eldari, for he was to follow up on an ancient pact made long ago with the Primarch. Cool had been tasked to deliver on 2 promises, and that he had come to deliver on the first. Cool revealed a strange device brought with him, known as an auto-reliquary, which contained the Armour of Fate. This magnificently crafted suit of armour possessed ancillary life support systems with the power to restore the life of the Primarch, despite his grievous wounds. The notion of bringing back one of the Emperor's greatest sons to the Imperium in its hour of need left the chapter master and surrounding Ultramarines in a state of shock. Ivrain would then speak, explaining that her powers of Ened, the Eldari god of the dead, would be necessary for this restoration to be successful, and that the Primarch must first die before he can be resurrected and live once more. These words swirled a storm of rage within the Ultramarines, as Calgar vowed that no Xenos would ever lay a hand upon the Primarch while he drew breath. However, it was Chief Librarian Tigerius who then stepped forward and sided with Cool, explaining that he had foreseen visions of this future, with Guilliman standing at the head of the Imperium. The situation would then become far more pressing as the vile minions of chaos at the head of the 13th Black Crusade arrived, crashing into the Ultramar system like a tidal wave of darkness. In the savage battles that followed, the Chaos Marines of the Black Legion had pushed the defenders of Macragge all the way back to the foot of the Temple of Correction. It was at this moment of desperation when the rune panels on Cool's auto-reliquary lowered and folded back to reveal the beacon of hope the Imperium had long sought. The Avenging Sun, the Primarch Roboute Guilliman, had awoken. Guilliman rose from his stasis chamber, clad in a new suit of masterworked armour and wielding the fabled sword of the Emperor. With the hope of the Ultramarines renewed at the inspiring sight of their resurrected Primarch, they fought on with such ferocity that the assault of the Black Legion was swiftly repelled from their homeworld. The invasion of chaos left turbulent areas of warp instability around the galaxy, which began to grow even larger, spreading out from the warp storm of the Great Rift. To combat this ever-growing threat, Guilliman launched the Terran Crusade from Macragge to bring stability to the wider Imperium. After years of war, Guilliman returned to Terra to meet with the Emperor for the first time in over 10,000 years, since before he was sealed in his stasis vault. It is still unknown what was discussed between father and son during their audience, but soon after, Guilliman took the mantle of Lord Commander of the Imperium and would carry out the Emperor's vision in his stead. Following the fall of Cadia to the powerful Black Legion, the cataclysmic energies from the Great Rift spread like a shroud upon the galaxy. Guilliman turned to Belisarius Cool once more to complete his plan that had been over 10,000 years in the making, since the time before he fell to the hand of Fulgrim. Cool had used this time to further perfect the original genetic template of the Space Marines, creating a new generation of superhuman warriors to defend the Imperium of mankind. He had created an entire legion of new Astartes in secret, deep beneath the surface of his forge on Mars. This new breed of transhuman warriors were named the Primaris Space Marines. They possessed an improved gene seed and were physically larger and more powerful than their first-generation brothers. Along with the Primaris Marines, Cool had developed new innovations in weapons technology, creating the advanced Mark X suit of power armor, new war gear, and new GravTech vehicles for the Legion of Primaris Marines. After the wake of destruction left by the second demonic assault on Terra, initiated by the Chaos god Khorne, Guilliman assembled the greatest fleet of Imperial warriors since the time of the Great Crusade. The bulk of this force consisted of hundreds of thousands of Primaris Space Marines, many of which were divided into new chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, while the remaining Marines were inducted into Legion-sized formations known as the Unnumbered Sons. This new, mighty force would mark the start of the Indomitus Crusade. Guilliman and his new armies set out into the void, bringing salvation to the besieged worlds of humanity and driving back the forces of Chaos and Xenos hordes to once again restore hope to the galaxy.